With apologies to Otto von Bismarck, the Nissan Leaf has convinced me that electric cars are like sausages. It's best not to see them being charged. The first night I got home with the Nissan Leaf, I plugged it into the same outlet that I used to charge the Ford Focus Electric and the Chevy Volt, and I went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I turned on the car to find out that it hadn't charged. I looked at the charger, the light was green, but the car simply wasn't taking the charge. Then I remembered that in an earlier version of a different electric car, it couldn't be plugged into a GFI outlet. I plugged the Leaf into the ceiling outlet that also powers the garage doors. That worked until someone tried to open both garage doors at once and blew a circuit. Well, anyway, the Leaf eventually became fully charged. And of course, that's the first question about any electric car. How far does it go on a charge, and where can I plug it in? The EPA says you'll get 106 mpge in the city and 92 mpge on the highway. You probably know this, but mpge is miles per gallon equivalent. The Monroney says your annual electric cost will be $600. That calculation is based on a driver who puts 15,000 miles a year on their car, and their electrical costs are 12 cents per kilowatt hour. The formula is obviously different if you have solar panels, a windmill, or happen to have a hydroelectric plant hooked up to the stream behind your house. The window sticker also says that with a 240-volt home charging system, the Leaf will get a full battery charge in 7 hours, and that will give you 73 miles of driving range. Nissan has some type of color-coded chart, sort of like the National Threat Level chart after 9/11, and it's just as useful. It tells you basically that if you drive uphill in winter, you'll have less range than if you coast downhill in springtime. So here's what we found. I commuted from my house in the hilly suburbs of New Jersey to my office in Midtown Manhattan, which is a distance of about 23 miles. I checked the website printed on the key fob that's supposed to be used like a credit card to pay for a charge. I drove to the address listed on the company's website and found out that the building was not a garage with a high-speed charger, but rather part of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I thought about asking their CSI lab if they had an extension cord, but I remembered that you're not supposed to use an extension cord to charge an electric car. I eventually put the car in my regular parking garage without a charging station and made it back home to the suburbs in the middle of the night without any problems. I plugged the car in when I got home. Then when I got up the next morning, the Leaf still wasn't fully charged. Nissan says the Leaf takes about 20 hours to charge a fully depleted battery with a 110-volt household outlet. Now I know why they call the 110 charger a trickle charger. With the partial charge, I knew I could make it to work in Manhattan, but I'd have to charge it in Gotham in order to get back home.
Now, we're in Midtown Manhattan, not too far from my office, and the car says we have 29 miles of range left. I need a charge.
Right turn ahead onto 11th Avenue. Then you have arrived at your destination.
The Leaf has a feature that allows you to hit a button on the dash and it will program the navigation system to get you to the nearest charging station. It took me to a brand new Nissan Infiniti dealership 10 blocks from my office. They assured me they would charge the Leaf for me.
No, the car says I could charge it here.
I went to work, then I called the dealership hours later and they told me it was charged. When I got there to pick up the Leaf, it turned out that the Nissan dealership didn't plug the Leaf in correctly, so it didn't take the charge and it wouldn't even start.
I drove into New York in a Leaf, and I'm leaving in an Infiniti.
So here's what I learned about the Leaf during my truncated time with the all-electric car aside from the sausage-making part. The Leaf had a great ride. Part of the reason I think it was so smooth on the highway is the weight of the battery, which is about equal to having a Harley-Davidson Sportster under the carpet. 600 pounds. The Leaf was quick off the line and handled the New Jersey Turnpike quite well. Various publications put the 0 to 60 time on the Leaf between 7.9 seconds and 10 seconds. All I can say is that I always felt confident merging into highway traffic and dodging New York City taxis. The interior was well thought out. The front and rear seats are heated, but for some reason, there are only 3 buttons. one button for the driver's seat, one button for the passenger seat, and one button that controls the heat for both of the rear seats. Yeah, that's going to work well if you have two kids in the back. For a car that celebrates zero tailpipe emissions and therefore the environment, it's ironic that you can't get a sunroof. It's probably because of the added weight of an electric sunroof. The same thing goes for power seats. The lack of power seats may be problematic if you have two drivers of very different heights. Also, power seats are the only way some people can get comfortable. The Leaf was also very quiet, which is nice for some people, maybe a little spooky for others. A backup camera is standard on the SL trim, which is a great safety advantage. So is standard navigation and a proximity key with push-button start. A blind spot detection system is not available, but the visibility in the Leaf is excellent. Now, if my Kingdom for an Outlet story freaked you out, a spokesperson for Nissan pointed out there's an app for that. The Leaf app tells you when your car is charging, how far along it is, and will send you a special message if it's been disconnected. In other words, at work, I would have gotten a message on my iPhone that the folks at the Nissan dealership didn't properly plug in the Leaf. The app will also allow you to precondition the car, making it either warm or cold depending upon your desire. And since the preconditioning is done while the Leaf is still plugged in, it doesn't affect your battery range. The SL trim also has a quick charge port, which Nissan claims will allow you to charge the Leaf in half an hour. It's a 440-volt charger, so I think you have to plug it directly into a nuclear power plant, but I'm not sure. Nissan does not recommend using a quick charge more than twice in one day because it could damage the battery. That means if you want to drive from New York to DC, you should plan on spending the night in Baltimore. But to be fair, the Leaf was never designed for long road trips. It was designed to be a daily driver for the average consumer. The base price for the 2012 Nissan Leaf SL is $37,250. Floor mats and a cargo mat added $170. Destination was another $850. So the total price as tested for the 2012 Nissan Leaf was $38,270. One major caveat, Nissan says you may be eligible for a $7,500 tax credit, which would bring the effective cost of the Leaf down to around $31,000. Additional state incentives may lower the effective price into the lower 20s. I'm Grant Winter reporting for Real World Test Drive.